Welcome to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
Today, we're getting into your source material on something called FHIR. That's FHIR, Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources.
Right. We've touched on this before. Basically, FHIR is this, modern standard from HL7. It uses web tech to help healthcare systems communicate better.
The new language for health data exchange, as we've called it.
Exactly.
But, okay, that sounds pretty technical. Systems talking to systems. Today, we really want to nail down, what does FHIR actually mean for you, the listener, for your specific health records? How does this standard impact your life as a patient?
That's the key question, really, because while, yes, it is about interoperability between systems, the whole point, the end goal, is to make things better for the individual.
Easier access, more secure sharing, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Making it simpler and safer for you to get a hold of and share your own health information.
Okay, let's break that down. How does this technical standard, FHIR, actually achieve that for an individual? What's the mechanism?
So the big shift with FHIR is moving away from treating health info like one giant single document. Instead, it breaks data down into smaller, standardized pieces. They call these resources.
Resources, like little building blocks of data.
Exactly. Think of a patient resource, an observation resource that's for things like your blood pressure or lab results, maybe a medication resource.
Ah, okay.
By defining these specific data types as standard resources, different systems can be much more specific.
So my doctor's office app doesn't need to pull my entire chart just to see my latest blood pressure.
That's it, exactly. It allows systems to ask for and get just the specific data they need, like just the last few blood pressure readings, not the whole huge file.
And that's easier now because...
Because FHIR uses modern web standards. Things like RESTful APIs. It's basically the same kind of tech that powers apps you use every day, like ordering food or checking the weather.
Right.
So technically speaking, asking for health data becomes much more straightforward, like asking for any other piece of information online.
Wow, okay. Using familiar web tech. So how does that translate directly into me getting my records?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting for patients. One of the biggest promises, you see this in the sources, is enabling you to access your own electronic health records. FHIR is essentially the plumbing that makes this possible on a large scale.
So the patient portal I use online, or maybe a health app on my phone, FHIR could be the thing letting that app connect directly to my hospital system and pull my data.
Absolutely. That's the vision. Patient access across different devices. And it's happening, you mentioned Apple earlier. They've built in the ability for their health app to pull FHIR compliant records.
If the provider makes it available, of course.
Right, that's the key. The provider system needs to support it. But FHIR enables those tools for much faster access and exchange.
Okay, that Apple example makes it very real, that direct link. But access brings up control. If data is easier to access via web tech, who decides what gets shared?
Yeah, crucial point. And the sources are really clear on this. Patient control and consent are absolutely central. Meaning, even with this improved technical ability to share, it's only you, the individual, who can authorize sharing your records with other doctors or other facilities or apps. It requires your explicit consent.
So FHIR builds the smooth highway, but I control the on-ramps.
Perfect analogy, yes. Initiatives mentioned, like the ABHA system in India, are built exactly on that principle. Patient control. And importantly, your consent doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Oh, how so?
It can be granular. You might choose to share, say, only your latest lab results with a specialist, or just your current medication list, not necessarily your entire history links to your account.
Ah, so I can pick and choose which bits of info get shared.
Yeah, you control the specifics.
That granular control sounds reassuring for privacy, but, the inevitable question, using internet technology, web standards, is it actually less secure than the old ways?
That's a fair question and really important. But no, it's not less secure. FHIR actually incorporates modern, robust security features right into its design. It's built with today's internet security in mind.
Okay, like what specifically? What security layers are there?
Well, you have the basics, like transport encryption using HTTPS. That's standard for secure websites, encrypts data in transit. Then there's strong authentication, often using something called OAuth 2.0 that verifies who's asking for the data using tokens.
Right, like logging into other secure apps.
Pretty much. Plus, there's access control, so users only see data they're authorized for based on their role. And critically, audit logging. So there's a record of who accessed what and when.
So, checks the identity, scrambles the data moving around, limits what people see, and keeps a log.
You got it. And for things like public health research, where you don't need individual identities, data can be anonymized to protect privacy while still being useful.
So it sounds like security and privacy, including consent, were really baked into FHIR from the start, not just bolted on later.
They had to be. And this foundation doesn't just let us do old things better. It actually enables completely new ways to use health data that just weren't practical before.
Okay, let's get to the bottom line then. The so what? What are the real, tangible benefits for me as a patient from all this FHIR stuff?
The so what is pretty significant, I think. For you, it means secure, near real-time access to your health info becomes more normal. It means you can easily share just the relevant parts of your record.
Like sending recent labs to a new doctor, or my medication list to an urgent care clinic if I'm traveling.
Exactly those kinds of scenarios, which in turn leads to much better care coordination.
Because my providers actually have the information they need.
Right. Imagine all your doctors, with your permission, having a more complete, up-to-date picture without you needing to remember every detail or carry stacks of paper.
Less repeating myself, fewer missed details.
Hopefully. And ultimately, all this adds up to empowerment for you.
Empowerment how?
By having your data readily available, shareable under your control. It shifts you from just being a passive patient to being a more informed, active participant in your own health. You can have better conversations, make better decisions.
Okay, that vision sounds great. Connected data, patient control. But let's be real. Healthcare IT can move like molasses sometimes. Is this actually happening, or is it still mostly talk?
It's definitely a transition. There's no flicking a switch. Moving away from older systems, like those using HL7 version 2, takes real time, effort, and money.
But there's movement.
Oh yeah, the momentum behind FHIR is huge now, and it's picking up speed. A lot of that is driven by government mandates, actually.
Like in the U.S.
Exactly. Regulations there are pushing providers and tech vendors to use FHIR APIs for patient access. And you see similar pushes, national initiatives in places like Brazil and Israel, too.
So integrating FHIR into the existing hospital systems, the EHRs, is happening even if it's complex.
It is. It's a major focus. So while maybe your specific clinic isn't fully FHIR ready tomorrow morning, the overall direction is very clear.
The standard is becoming, well, standard.
Yeah, pretty much. FHIR is rapidly becoming the dominant global standard for this kind of health data exchange. Its capabilities are shifting from nice to have to must have for health IT. The groundwork is definitely being laid.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, it feels like FHIR, this sort of new language for health data, is really much more than just tech jargon. It seems poised to actually change your experience with healthcare.
I think that's right. It's about enabling easier, more specific access to your records and secure sharing that you control explicitly.
Which paves the way for you, the listener, to have more agency, more control over your own health information.
Yeah, and the benefits that flow from that. Better coordinated care because the right info can get to the right place, more informed decisions for you, and maybe enabling new digital health tools we haven't even thought of yet.
Because the data wasn't easily accessible this way before?
Exactly. Now, the journey isn't over. It's complex, challenges remain, but with standards like FHIR gaining traction worldwide, that vision of your health records moving smoothly, securely, and really working for you, it feels like it's becoming much more real. Just pause and think about that. What would it actually mean for your health journey if your data was truly yours to access and share, easily and securely, whenever and wherever you needed it?
Something to really consider. What could that level of access and control unlock for you?